Hi everyone, welcome. It is Thursday at 3:30. I am so excited to be here with you. Today is PCBL and eMedia, which is a great open educational resource hub and resource across the state of Utah, as well as farther beyond as well. So excited to get that out there and share that with you today. We got a great guest, but before we get into that, folks, just a couple of reminders. This is week 7 of our PCBL and technology series. We close out in week 8 next week with Microsoft and Kayla Towner, one of our great UEN trainers. So sadly, at the end, we'll be putting all these videos together and keeping them on the website, but also we have a special announcement next week that kind of will extend our PCBL and technology learning going forward. So make sure you're here next Thursday, 3:30 p.m. We'll have that announcement. Also, a great presentation from Kayla Towner about Microsoft and PCBL. Just a few reminders as we get started before we get our guest in here today. Our website for our whole series is go.uen.org/lowercase b, uppercase w, and the number 7. It's streaming down on the bottom part of this page. I'll leave it up there for a couple minutes. Feel free to join us there. We have tons of resources on there. The first thing you're going to find again is our handout, our poster for the entire series. It's got the links to the YouTube videos. Those will be up in perpetuity, so feel free to share these links over the next couple months, year or so, and share them with whoever's in your building, or use them if you are a trainer or a person who provides training for your school. Feel free to use our videos. We'd be happy to have that happen. All those are linked right here where it says view on YouTube. Down below, you're going to find also links to all the videos and all the pages for those videos easily right here on that homepage. Underneath that, you're also going to find our Wakelet of UEN tools. If you are new to UEN, we cover a lot of technology tools, all the ones that are covered in the series: Adobe, Google, Nearpod, eMedia, Utah's Online Library, all of those tools. And there's lots of hot links directly to the product pages and resources from UEN on this Wakelet, as well as our social media where you can see tons of stuff, as well as I'm totally going to date this video because a brand new episode of UEN Homeroom came out today. So that's right there. I'm very excited. If you are new to the videos, folks, my name is Matt Winters. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I'm a UEN technical trainer. I specialize in Google, but I love personalized competency-based learning. That's why I'm here. If you have questions after this presentation, or 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, feel free to email me, mwinters@uen.org, or you can get at me on Twitter @teacherwinters. Before we get our guests in here, just a quick reminder. Right here in the right-hand corner, you're going to find a webinar sessions link, and all of the links for the sessions except for our last one, which is next week's Microsoft session. On these pages, you're going to find the trainer or the product manager that's in charge of that product at UEN. Some links to some kind of overview resources about PCBL, about the tool we're talking about, those sorts of things. And then some very specific things about PCBL and different tools we can use from that product in our classrooms. Any of these resources are free for you to use. If they make a copy for you, feel free to use it in your classroom, share it with other teachers, whatever works best for you, because if you're using it, most likely you're jumping into that PCBL mindset, which is the goal of these presentations. Lots of really great things going on here, and you can check out all of those links to specific products on these different pages. All right, with that said today, folks, our link that we're going to be focusing on is PCBL and eMedia. I'm so excited to introduce our guest today, which is Miss Katie Blunt. How you doing, Mrs. Katie?
Doing well.
Good to have you here.
Yep, I'm happy to be here too. I always love talking to you and sharing about eMedia.
Absolutely. And eMedia is one of those tools that I didn't understand for a long time, because I think a lot of teachers don't really understand maybe the idea of open educational resources, why it's so. I think most people, when they hear free, they're like, yeah, but they hear that technical term and their brain doesn't necessarily click. So could you give us a little bit of an overview about eMedia and what open educational resources are?
Yeah, absolutely. So the basic idea is that eMedia is an online database of educational resources. So it's interesting because eMedia is actually in the Utah's online library, but all the other resources in the online library are for students and for student research. eMedia is the teacher side of things. There, and I'll show you later, there are resources that are student facing and resources that are teacher facing, but generally eMedia is a teacher resource. And so As you mentioned, eMedia is like a subset of OER Commons. Well, that doesn't mean a whole lot to you if you don't know what OER is. So, OER stands for Open Educational Resources. Open means openly licensed. So, I think some other phrases I've heard are royalty free or copyright free. Actually, all of those mean slightly different things. So, openly licensed generally means that whoever owns it, whoever created it, has said, hey, you can use this without paying for it. So, the key word there is free. So, everything that is in eMedia is free for teachers. Now, this screen is to show you that there are open educational resources from all over the place in eMedia. But actually, UEN also licenses content for teachers. So, still free to teachers, but technically, we're paying for those through UEN's budget. And then the educators can also create content that they want to share with everyone else in the state. So that's really what eMedia is about. Where can I go to find resources to use in my classroom or whatever your position is that are free, openly licensed? And when we talk about resources, that's the other thing, Matt. People are like, you say resources a lot. What does that mean? So I'm going to come back to that screen. There are videos, lesson plans, web links, assessments, photos, databases, reading articles, Canvas modules, etc., 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 that teachers can use within the eMedia database. So it really covers such a broad spectrum that's why we use that term resources. So, anyway, this is your go-to place for things that can help you teach your students and meet your core standards. That's generally what eMedia is.
I love that. I love what you said at the very beginning, where Utah's online library is very much focused on helping students do good research. eMedia is very much more teacher centric, and I'm excited to see what kind of things you found that will help teachers adopt that PCBL mindset, helping them get into personalized learning. Because, like we've talked about in other videos, something like Google or Adobe really helps teachers to build those structures and give students creativity tools. This seems more like a tool that helps them to build lesson plans, engage those different mindsets, and then produce those lesson plans for their classes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's you'll find that a big part of it is time saving, and I'll mention that again, that when you can find a resource that's already been created that's free for you, you're saving all of the time of reinventing the wheel, and instead can put your time into adjusting and personalizing and making it work for you and your students, which really helps support PCBL.
Absolutely.
So
Where we're already dealing with a new idea, a new mindset, having some support where I don't have to build something or build the wheel from scratch, essentially. That saves us some time and some headaches over time.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I zoomed past this screen, but I'm going to go back because it's important. um, Anyone really on the web anywhere can access eMedia, which, by the way, is located at emedia.uen.org. You can, as we said, get to it from the online library, but actually, I prefer to just come here. But anyway, anyone can come here, and any of the resources that are in eMedia can be accessed as long as they're licensed for anyone in the world to see them. But as you recall, I said that UEN has also paid some licensing. Those are not available to anyone in the world. Okay. And so, in order to get everything you possibly can out of eMedia and to use the creation tools, which will be very important, as you'll see, you do need to log into eMedia. And so, this screen just reviews with everyone that educators access eMedia through their My UEN account. For teachers like you and me, Matt, that have been teaching for a while, we probably know about this. We find our Cactus ID here, and we used to have a little teacher webpage here, but newer teachers maybe not. Anyway, go to my.uen.org, and you can see all my little arrows here. You can either create an account, or you can get the login for an account that you have long since forgotten about. You can get help, all sorts of things. The key to your login, though, is that you do need to have an educator email address, because that's how the system verifies that you're a Utah educator. So log in, change up that email address to your current educator address, and then you're good to go to access all of the materials. And Matt, I'll say this a lot. If any of this is like, whoa, what did she just say? Just reach out for help. There are help menus everywhere, and we're happy to help you get logged in.
Absolutely. I may have used those help menus once or twice, because it sometimes can get a little labyrinthy, if we want to use that word.
Yes.
Katie, so I love all this, and I want to jump over to the PCBL side of this. But before we do, if I'm a teacher that wants to learn more about eMedia, how to use it, I know it's embedded into a lot of courses, like my Google course, we use
Yeah.
eMedia at the very end. But is there a
Mhm.
course they can take at UEN to get them kind of into the process of using eMedia?
Yeah, there is. And we currently we're offering the eMedia Explore, Create, Collaborate. And if you can't remember that, just look for eMedia, but it's our slogan here on the page. But they can register for the eMedia Explore, Create, Collaborate course every term except for the first summer term. But we're just offering it all the time besides that, because we want people to learn more about eMedia. And it takes you through every tool and every step, and also gives you a greater understanding of what open educational resources are all about, and what open educational practice is about, and the collaboration that's key to all of that. So highly recommend it.
Absolutely. And you can find that at the ticker down below. It says uen.catalog.instructure.com, has all of our courses, including that Explore, Create, Collaborate. And I just got to say, I mean, one of the big things about PCBL is we're encouraging our students to create things, to be creative, to collaborate with their classmates. And what a great way to model some of those behaviors by participating in a program like this
Yeah.
and sharing your great lessons and ideas or modifications to a lesson through an open educational resource commons like this.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump into some of your
Okay.
ideas about how we can use this for a PCBL mindset.
Excellent. I'm going to spend like really quick couple of minutes giving you the overview, so that when I talk about the PCBL stuff, it makes sense. But when you get into eMedia, you heard our slogan a couple times now. The first thing I suggest you do is explore. Find what's there. Just get your bearings, because there are tens of thousands of resources there for you. So that's what the Explore is all about. There's a search tool in eMedia that you can use to do keyword searches and advanced searches. You can discover resources and collections and providers. So just take some time and see what is there. Okay. And then there are some tools that can help educators dig in a little more deeply to specific kind of areas, content, and things like that. So I'm going to come back to hubs in just a moment and really tie that to PCBL, but explore these as well. There are also create tools in eMedia. So I always tell educators, once you've gotten your bearings, you understand a little more what eMedia is about, as you just said, Matt, consider contributing to the community. And here's a create button that allows you to submit resources. Okay. And then finally, you can do, as it says, the collaboration piece. eMedia has groups, and here's just a little sample of those groups, where you can have discussions, you can share resources, and you can do all sorts of things in eMedia. And that's across the top menu here as well. So that kind of gives you the full picture and progression of what you can do in eMedia. But let's zero in on then, like we said, what does this have to do with PCBL? So first of all, we've touched on this a little, but I'm going to say it again. Finding pre-made resources in eMedia really allows you to have the time and flexibility to then think about personalization. I actually was looking through the PCBL framework from USBE, and so I'm going to use a little of their language. So these free pre-made resources can help provide a greater selection of learning experiences, right? Because we're trying to find all these different ways to help students learn. They can also give you ideas for how students might create and apply knowledge. So a lot of the resources that you'll find, and I'm going to show you here by going to an advanced search, will tailor to your different needs. So if I come down here to material type, you can see that there are activities and labs, there are lessons and lesson plans and lectures, but there are also homework assignments. There are assessments that can really help you know how you might help students apply, create, and then demonstrate their learning. So just exploring what's there and letting it save you that time and energy is a huge part of eMedia and PCBL.
And
I
just
meant,
adding on to that,
go
Katie,
ahead.
for just a
Yeah.
second, it's also free.
Yeah. Free.
So all of us as teachers, we love free stuff. We don't want to pay our money into another organization. This is free, high quality resources from teachers around the world, specifically here in Utah, open to be used today.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I mentioned hubs, so let's dig in a little more deeply. So in some ways, I'm making the same point with Explore and hubs. But hubs help you because they focus in on specific topics, curriculum, or initiatives. And so if you're looking for something to specifically help you in this area or with this tool, go to hubs and check out those collections. So when I come to hubs up here at the top of the page, I'm going to click on See All Hubs. And you can see the different topics, initiatives, curriculum area that we have hubs for so far. One of my favorite ones to bring up is the Seed Hub, because you can come here and go directly to not just random resources, but peer-reviewed and standards aligned resources for your grade level or content. So you click on 5th grade there, and you're exploring things just to help you teach 6th or 5th grade science. You can also then narrow down your search and say, okay, I really would like to check out some lesson plans or some Nearpods. Okay. And so use these tools to just really zero in on what you're looking for. Conveniently, on these hubs, you will also find other ways that the resources are organized. So if I continue scrolling in the Seed Hub, now I can actually look at the same resources plus more from specific providers. So if you're thinking, yeah, you know what? Those FAT simulations, man, they really engage my students. And what if I had some kind of choice board where they could pick and choose from some of these simulations? Well, now you can go find 160 of those resources from FAT specifically. You can continue, and a lot of the time, not on every hub, but in this hub, we actually also have LEA collections. So that's pretty cool, especially if one of these is your district. You can be like, oh, well, I definitely know this is approved. So, and then there are groups, training videos, all sorts of things to help you continue. Let me point out a couple more hubs. Because I'm talking with you, Matt, I think I'm obligated to point out the Google for Edu Hub. Matt helped design this one, and he gathered all of the resources. He helped us curate, but this hub goes through some of the great tools that will help you. Advertises the educator group, there's tutorials, and then bam, there are all the resources that organized by tool, organized by content area, and then all the extra goodies from Google. So I hope you're starting to see how hubs can take you that extra step in finding what's going to help you really personalize and fine tune PCBL in your classroom.
Thanks for sharing the Google for EDU hub. I love it, and I'm working on the next update as well right
Love it.
now.
You know,
But I do,
that's a neat point, Matt.
yeah,
These aren't static.
yeah.
We're continuously curating and adding more resources. So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
And I've got to give you props because that seed hub is incredible.
Oh, thank
But
you.
then on top of that, you're now working on a mathematics hub.
Yeah,
So look for a mathematics hub on there now, but also more resources, more kind of working with those LEAs, getting more resources in there. And then I know you've got even more hubs that are content specific coming down the
yeah.
pipeline as well.
I'm hub happy. I love making hubs. Um, and what's cool about these content area hubs, Matt, is that we're working directly with the specialists at the State Board of Education to curate the resources and to create these hubs. So you're absolutely right. When all is said and done, by about a year from now, there will be a hub for every subject area, and then we'll just continue to grow them. It's super exciting to be collaborating with them on this project. So
Absolutely. What a great resource for teachers. What a great way to get choice boards going, choice-based activities to see different
yeah,
tools or content areas. Just incredible work.
yeah. Okay, so speaking of that, let me jump ahead a little. Well, before I do, I won't jump too far yet. You got me excited, but I want to mention the remix tool because we've been saying, oh, this can save you time and you can personalize it and you can make it work for just your students. And to use some of the PCBL language, you can make tools that yield timely, relevant, and actionable data. Well, the way that you do that is not just by finding a free resource. That's one way, but let me go to one that I know is licensed for remixing. So if the license allows it, let me go to my lesson plans. If the license allows it, when you click on a resource like this lesson plan, you will see this remix button on the page. And what that means is that you can take what they have, as great or so or not that great as it is, but it's a starting place. Some of them are awesome. Some of them need some tweaking, right? And you can click remix. It will create a new copy of that resource. But look, I'm in an editor because I'm logged in. And now I can open up, let's say I really wanted to add a little more to the assessment plan. Well, I can expand that section and I can add in the quiz or the Kahoot or the Google Earth project or whatever it is and add it in here so that now this is mine and it's got more resources that fit my students. It's got more choices, more possibilities. And then when I'm all set, I click next and I publish. And now this is a second copy in eMedia that everyone can share that you have fine-tuned to your needs. So very cool.
100%. I've used that tool a couple times. It's so easy to use, but then also so helpful to get us into that creator mindset, get us into that sharing mindset. That's just so important at being in the 21st century as a teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what I was going to jump ahead to, but I'll do it now, is a few of these examples. And as I talk about these examples, I'll mention the Canvas LTI. So I said at the very beginning of this presentation that this is really a teacher database, and it is, but there are some resources, especially if you search for resources that are for students. So again, let me remind you how you might do that. So if I'm looking, for English language arts resources, then I can fine tune by primary user and say that I want student resources. Now, caveat, people chose these tags. So I can't guarantee that they're all student facing, but that's the idea. That's the hope. So let me show you an example. What you find by looking for student resources are resources that are ready for students to use. So in a way, it's like taking the concept of a hyperdoc or a choice board and putting it into eMedia where everyone can share and find it. You could certainly do that by just literally sharing the link to your Google, HyperDoc or your choice board, but you could also build it here. So you might recognize this, Matt.
I was going to say that title looks familiar.
Yeah. Matt contributed this. I converted it into an example of a student-facing resource in eMedia. So if I view this, I can look through and I can see what this is. It's an activity where students get to choose TED videos, and then they're going to do some activities involved in them. And you can see in this particular view, I can actually even see teacher notes for this activity. But here's a cool thing. I can come here to student view. And when I click that, I can copy a link or I can preview, and you can give this link directly to your students, and voila, you've got an activity that gives students choice and voice in their learning. And so they can come, they can read the information, click on the links, they can click onto the next slide. Oh, this is what you're supposed to do with it. Download this file and have a discussion. In this case, you had used Flipgrid, but you'll remember the notes after the teacher said there are other options as well. So let me show you one more example that's like that. This is Westward expansion, and I liked this one. Jamie actually, so I watched Jamie's Nearpod PCBL video that you did with her, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And I loved her menu of options in Nearpod, and I turned it into a student-facing resource in eMedia. Very similar idea. I can view the resource as a teacher, but I can also get that student view, and voila, they're going to be able to do that same thing where they've got a guiding question, and then they've got their main course. So everybody needs to do that. And then they have choices. They get to direct their own path there. And then she's got dessert, optional extension activities. And if you didn't hear her talk about all of these, go back, watch the Nearpod one. But I thought it was a cool connection to what this can look like in eMedia. So when you have resources like that are student facing, you can actually use an LTI, the UEN eMedia LTI in Canvas, and pop this right into your Canvas course along with all of the other content and choices and maybe mastery paths, all the cool things that we've been talking about, all into that home base of Canvas. So I will warn you, unfortunately right now, it does not embed this into Canvas, but what it does is it gives the students a link to this that does not require them to log into eMedia, whether they're at school or at home. So that's the huge benefit of using the LTI. Pretty
That's
cool.
incredible, Katie. I actually was just barely new to the student view, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
Talk about cross district, cross like interdistrict collaboration right there.
Yeah.
But then also just the modeling for student choice and voice and pace and place. It hits all of those things that we're looking for in PCBL, both from the teacher standpoint, from the student standpoint, and then moves it easily into competency-based learning when we apply it to Canvas with the LTI, and we can do some things with mastery paths and rubrics. So it's the whole package right there.
It is. And, and maybe you find maybe there's an assessment already with it. Maybe you find another one, and then maybe you add it to Canvas. Like it's just can really fuel exactly what you said, that differentiated support, different pathways, different pacing. And then as you said, the fact that then we need to evaluate student learning from all of that. I'm not going to go to them now, but in this if people want to look up these two videos, in my mind, videos are basically the other type of student-facing resources that are in eMedia, and there are tons of them. This one's in Spanish. This one's a math problem. Really cool stuff. So we're about out of time. Let me come back to this little center one real quickly before we end. So I noticed that part of PCBL is being able to ensure rigorous common expectations for learning. So one way to do that in eMedia is there are alignment and evaluation and rating tools built into eMedia that we can use. Here's a 5-star rating thing. You can come here and do an evaluation. It's aligned to a standard that will really help us all as a community when we all take part to ensure that not only are these free, but they're high quality, useful resources. So
Absolutely. And that's,
there we have it.
yeah, that's really what we want. Is it's not just that it's free, it's that it's valuable. It helps the students to get in get the choice and voice and pace and place of PCBL, but then it helps the teacher to find resources quickly that helps them to do this with their students in short order and make some amazing strides with their students.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for today, Katie. This was fantastic. I learned a few things. I hope the crowd out there, both in person and then down the line, have learned a few things. For more information, Katie's got it right here, uen.org/eMedia. Links on our hub as well, which is down at the bottom. Or if you ever have questions, you can always reach out to Katie. Her email is kblunt@uen.org. And she is fantastic about getting back to you about questions. She's just a OER eMedia wizard. It's fantastic. So thank you so much for coming today, and I appreciate your points of view, Katie.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, folks, just a couple things before we wrap up here. Just a reminder, here is our webpage with all of the resources from all the sessions. go.uen.org/lowercase b, uppercase W, and the number 7. This gives you all of the links to past sessions and then our one upcoming session, which is coming up next week with Kayla Towner for Microsoft. We'll have that posted just right here. But in a minute, when this video stream ends, you'll see Katie's videos already ready to go. Feel free to share this resource, all the resources that Katie shared today as well, with any teachers who you think would be interested, who need some push into PCBL or some help kind of digging in and understanding how eMedia can not only support PCBL, but high quality instruction in the state of Utah and beyond. As well as a reminder of just past sessions, you can see all of the ones, including the technology kickoff. All these have the resources across the board, so feel free to share those, use those in your classroom as well. Remember, next week, Thursday, 3:30 p.m., PCBL and Microsoft, but also we have a big announcement that will help you to continue your PCBL journey that I'll be sharing at the end of that presentation. So make sure you're here Thursday, 3:30 to 4 p.m. We'll see you there. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.